There's two kind of parts of my trading and my system that I use is the first and foremost part is I use a system that's called inbox wave. And it's an order flow type indicator system. Everything that you see on my chart here is part of the inbox wave suite. I'm not going to get into the details too much of the details of reading it and how it presents itself. But essentially what I look for is I look for what I would call an exhaustion pattern on the inbox wave system. So just to kind of highlight what that looks like, here was an exhaustion pattern or side that I saw this morning, and I actually did take this trade. And essentially, we're setting new highs on the day, and each time as price was pushing up on the new high, I would see a decrease in the interest in buying going on across these numbers that represent across the top of these waves. Now, just having a decrease in interest in buying doesn't mean sellers are going to push it down, but it's just, okay, I have no interest in buying, but I got to see some interest in selling. And then some other little things that kind of went into it is, okay, so I got exhaustion across the buy and across the top. This middle graph, this histogram, is kind of like a supply and demand. Okay. I had a lot of demand coming into the market in this up wave compared to this up wave, and they effectively were unable to move the needle. So buyers are trying and they're not able to. So that's a good reason. This is, okay, this validates this exhaustion pattern. And then as I was coming down here to a cumulative delta type graph, I just see, okay, I'm actually negative on the cumulative delta while I'm at all-time highs. So that kind of culminated everything into the whole picture shows that buyers are exhausted, and I'm starting to get some signs that sellers are stepping in right around here. So then once it pushed up here one more time with zero effort in buying whatsoever, for me, that was the time to go short and take a short. Now, the question is how long do you hold the short? Well, that's the $1 million question.
Of course.
And for me, kind of going back to it, is I quit trying to maximize every trade that I had, and I just had to figure out what trade checks my boxes and checks my goals while giving me a high probability I'm going to get filled at a win every single time. So I trade to a much smaller target than I used to, but ultimately it's led towards higher success and being happier with smaller gains.
That becomes a big part of the process. Is it's not just about the strategy and what gets you in, but it's also what gets you out. And that could be on the winning side or the losing side, but that's a key component to long-term success.
Absolutely. Managing the trade and managing your accounts is crucial and critical. I mean, it's just, Apex gives us a phenomenal tool to be able to trade multiple accounts at once. And, one of the things that I do is I don't trade all my accounts at the same time. I'll take one trade in half my accounts, and then I take the second trade in the other half of the accounts. And for me, a lot of that it allows me to not emotionally tie myself to everything. So I can take a losing trade in some accounts and not spiral or tailspin from it. And then completely reset to have a good mental focus to take that next trade because I'm doing it on a fresh set. I mean, it's a way to spread the risk out is what it is.
For sure. And of course, when you have that sort of mindset, those moments that, again, some of us still continue to feel to this day, if we go off the rails on one set of accounts, at least it's only a set. It's not the whole package.
Exactly. And then the other thing too, I mentioned there's two pieces to my trading. The other piece to my trading is I participate in a trade room hosted by Bob Amico at targetstradingpro.com. And I kind of use his commentary because he's a phenomenal order flow trader. And I use his commentary, and I've learned a lot from him in trading and how to order flow trade and with the live market to kind of use that as a litmus test against what do I think I'm seeing. So, and how does that look is if I'm thinking, boy, I really want to be short right now, and then I can hear Bob in the background. I mean, I don't just copy everything he does. I don't just let him make my decisions for me. Right. I mean, I tried that for a while, and it was hard because I didn't really know what I was doing, right? Or I didn't have a plan of my own to stick to. So, but if I'm thinking, oh boy, I really want to be short right now, but then I hear his commentary talking about, we don't want to be short, I'm looking to be long here. It at least gives me a second to take a pause to say, all right, am I missing something? Is there a bigger picture that I'm not focusing on? And am I getting too narrowly microscopic on one area that's now supporting what I want the market to do? I got to see what the market is trying to tell me, not what I want to. I don't want to reinforce what I believe is happening.
Of course. And that's a big key component. Now, the reality is if somebody is trading a completely different style as you might be seeing longs and they might be seeing shorts, or vice versa. You might be off kilter simply because of a significant difference in strategy or what you look for. And that's not necessarily somebody that you want to listen to in terms of confirmation. But when you guys are in line with what you're looking for and why you're looking for it, that's when that becomes significant. I'm personally a big believer, and I trade with people every day, whether I'm just passively watching or I'm actively involved. But to me, I like the way you put it. That's a great litmus test right there to see if, am I clear in what I'm looking at? And the ability to sort of, I guess, be partnered with, or at least be exposed to somebody who's more experienced, but in line with what you're doing, makes such a significant difference.